Hello and welcome to the Video Game Book Club, a monthly book club where we read video game themed books.
Yes, and this month we chose Spider-Man, the official prequel to the blockbuster action video game Hostile Takeover by David Liss.
Yeah, so we just finished Spider-Man 2.
So we have played all three games.
We have. So I thought there was actually a prequel novel for this one, and there's a prequel novel for Miles Morales. There is not that for Spider-Man 2. So we read this one first.
It's been a while since we played the game, so we both went back and watched the beginning of it because I can't distinguish what happened in what game because we literally just finished Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that happens in that game, and so I really don't remember
I don't remember the first one. I think I remember Miles Morales because we played that more recently.
Yeah.
But the first one, I
had to go Wikipedia to be like, okay, what actually happened in this game? Not that it mattered because this book only deals with Fisk, really, and Yuri Watanabe. Those are the two important things in this.
And this is the story of how Peter and MJ break up before the events of
and
the first
how
one.
He meets Yuri.
And how he meets Yuri. And that's all you really need to know.
Yeah.
Fisk is a thing in the first game,
yes.
but only for a little bit before the other villain shows up.
Yeah.
All of the other villains, because those games are chaotic and they just throw 6 villains at you all the time.
Yeah, which they kind of did in here too. So Hostile Takeover, the cover is kind of interesting because it's Spider-Man.
It's his new suit.
And
that they made for the game.
Jumping up or falling down or...
I don't know what he's doing.
The city background. He's got his
web slinger.
It looks cool. But then behind him you see Osborn.
You can?
Yeah, it's right there. No, the word.
Oh.
Hidden stuff in the art. Yeah. And then you also see here a thing for the Daily Bugle.
Re-elect Osborn. That's what it says.
Osborn's the mayor.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
And the cover art, to give cred, the cover art is by Alexander Lozano. And this is an official, it's tied to Insomniac.
It's technically canon.
It's Titan Books.
I tried to see if it was, and people were like, well, nobody said it wasn't, so...
Well, I mean, we're going to go into how we feel about this book, if you can't tell from our tone already.
So, the book starts off really, really strong, I think. Yeah. And then, halfway through, maybe even before that...
It was a struggle.
The end is really bad. The beginning is really good, and the end is really bad, so it's rough.
Yeah. I was telling Savvy, I had to listen to a totally other audiobook or a YouTube video or something while I was reading this. Otherwise, I got so distracted by literally anything to not finish. So I finished this morning.
Yeah, she texted me and was like, I don't think I'm going to finish this book.
I texted you earlier this week.
And I was like, okay.
I'm halfway through. I don't know if I'm going to do it.
I thought this might be the first one that you DNF and we just only...
I do my homework.
I actually took more extensive notes because you told me that you were going to quit. So I was like, well, now I have to step it up.
Taking really, really short notes at the end. I'm like,
my notes are insanely long and are so unnecessary because so much stuff happens in this book that is very unnecessary. There's unnecessary characters.
Yes.
There's unnecessary, chapters that didn't need to exist. And it's too long for what it is. It could have been shorter.
So Liss originally writes fiction. I think he writes historical fiction. And then this is later on in his career. But so there are more descriptions than we normally get in video game books, which I appreciate. But there was a lot of stuff that could have been edited out. This could have been a way shorter book. This was pretty... How long was your audiobook?
It was 9 hours.
And I have the mass market, and it's almost 400 pages, 398 pages. So this was a long book.
It was a long book. It felt like it was a long book.
Yeah.
At the end, at least. I listened to the audiobook, and it was narrated by Pete Cross, and he sounds very much like Peter Parker.
His name sounds familiar.
Pete Cross.
Yeah.
His name is Peter.
He is Peter Parker.
So he did a really good job at all the dudes. Oh, he made all the ladies sound the same.
Oh, okay. Well... That's weird.
Yeah, he basically had kind of a...
Because Yuri, Maya, and MJ are very... How did Aunt May sound?
The same. She sounded the same as MJ. Which was just kind of a little bit higher pitched, but a little more tired, which I think fits for both
Fair.
MJ and Aunt May. So they're like, oh, Peter, so annoying.
And
He
you're
is
like,
annoying, by the
Peter.
way.
Yes.
Um,
He was struggling this book.
I'm so tired of his problems because there's so much easier ways to fix what's going on. And he's had the same problem for the past 3 freaking Spider-Man games. Mm-hmm. And it's been driving me insane.
I do have to say, reading this book, and I don't think they get enough credit, is freaking video game writers.
Especially because there's like a bunch of them. And
there's a bunch of them. And then even this one, I tried to look it up, and of course it's Wikipedia, so, take that with whatever. But there are like 8 writers on this first game. Mm-hmm. And the complexity, especially since we just finished the second one, and there was
like multiple writers. Most writers are assigned like a character,
or they get a
side quest or something.
But in Spider-Man 2, there's so many side quests that you don't actually have to do at all.
Yeah, the side quests were the best part of Spider-Man 2. Mainly because they had like kind of cinematic endings too, so it felt, worth it.
And it was important for what's coming up in the next game. So if you're going to play Spider-Man 2 or if you have not played it already, make sure you do the side quests.
Are awesome.
And you get super cool suits. But yeah, the complexity of storytelling within video games, it does not get enough credit.
I don't think so. And I don't know, just watching one Mad Lad's take on a beloved superhero or a story, because most of these books are just one dude writing what he thinks.
They get some direction from the video game. Sometimes they'll see like an early, like you can tell
they get an early script
in the epilogue that he was told some information for the beginning of the game.
It might have been the original script.
Yeah, it starts almost as much as the first.
You could tell because the epilogue is the opening to the first game. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that it's a different Spider-Man. Yeah. The way that Spider-Man is written is very different than the way that David over here wrote this Spider-Man. I mean, the Spider-Man is an anxious mess. I don't want to hear Peter's internal monologue because he's a mess. He's a mess.
Yeah. Peter.
I'm like, he's annoying enough. Spider-Man. I don't want to have to hear.
Peter Parker has so much anxiety.
He does. Like, I understand though. It makes sense.
Yes. ADD and anxiety.
I think David did like an okay job writing Peter, but
yeah. We're gonna go in a little bit more in depth, but we have Fisk is in here.
Fisk is like the main bad guy.
Yeah. It tried to be Bingham, who is Blood Spider, and I hated almost everything that the first part with Bingham, because you don't even know it's Bingham, was really cool, but every other chapter,
I wish
he could have not been in the book at all.
Well, Bingham was like the big part though. Blood Spider is fine. It's just the fact that they talk about his backstory too much
in full chapters, and I think you put on Fable like
they time.
Did we go? What's happening?
They'll time skip.
They go back to when he's being
I don't need to know this much about him.
No.
All you need to know about Bingham is that
it would have been better if I didn't get any.
He's a delusional homeless man who got experimented on. Yeah. And that's all you need to know about Bingham. Mm-hmm. He's a dude who thinks he's Spider-Man. Crazy. They took him in to experiment on him, and now he's also Spider-Man. Like, he has Spider-Man powers. That's all you need to know. Yeah. I don't need to know his backstory.
It would have been better not hearing anything about him.
Yes.
But yes, having him be like the silent victim. Because then also we see randomly the Shocker is in here.
Yeah, Shocker's in here.
But
did you guys know that there's a superhero or supervillain bar where they all hang out?
Name, and they do trivia.
And they're like
the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Is that in the game? Is there like a bar with no name where all of the supervillains hang out? And like, what does like cops not know about this?
Yeah. And Peter Parker as Spider-Man just dropped in and was like, hey, I need to talk to someone.
Why did they let him in? He's beating up everyone at this bar.
It was, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let me read the back.
Yeah.
The official prequel to the blockbuster action video game, Peter Parker is caught in a complicated web. Working in a cutting-edge laboratory, he's a young scientist who's trying to make a difference. Yet he's constantly burdened by the responsibilities of his second career as the crime-fighting giant print Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Marvel Spider-Man, by the way.
That's how you have to put it with the game.
Marvel
It's called Marvel Spider-Man, the game.
Oh, because this is the Insomniac version.
Yeah.
There are other Spider-Man games.
It's a different Spider-Man.
Wilson Fisk, the so-called Kingpin of Crime, has returned to New York, establishing himself publicly as an altruistic entrepreneur and philanthropist. Spider-Man knows better, but he can't uncover Fisk's scheme that, if executed, will make the crime lord, quote, too big to fail.
They bring it up all the time.
He's not a bank.
But he's trying to be.
Nice. When a new threat, a deadly doppelganger with Spider-Man's suit and abilities, wreaks havoc in the streets, can the real wall crawler prove his innocence? With the clock ticking and lives on the line, can Spider-Man stop the brutal rampage of the Blood Spider? Will Spider-Man fall to his fears and foes, or will he rise and be greater?
Wow, nothing about Echo, huh?
It's with great responsibility. Great power.
Because with great responsibility comes great power.
Take that, Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
And that is, so was what? They
Bungle?
totally left out Echo. They totally left out MJ.
There's no women in this.
But, yeah. So sort of true to what this book is, but
Sort of.
I
I almost wish this is what this book was, if I'm being honest.
Would you rather have Blood Spider or Echo?
Blood Spider.
I would have rather have Echo. Just have Echo. Echo made more sense to the
Echo
full
is
story.
still pointless in this book.
She helps.
That at the
With
last freaking second.
Yeah.
We're I go into that. We want to talk about spoilers so bad right now.
Yeah, we've kind of already.
But we gave it kind of a low score because it fell apart at the end.
It was in all honesty, it was struggle to read.
I gave it a 2.5.
I gave it a 2. It's not that it's bad. It's just really not for me.
Bad. It just wasn't. It ended so shitty that I was like, I don't want to.
And I also don't think it was true to this game.
I was getting tired reading it.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to hear about this stuff anymore.
Did it have any sound effects in this one?
No.
Would that have made it better?
Yes.
Except for maybe the cockroaches.
They started at the beginning with like a little triumphant Spider-Man tune, and then it didn't follow. Like the Star Wars audiobooks, they should have, every Marvel audiobook should have a little sound effect.
Yeah.
That would have been tight. That would have made it so cool.
The webs, because Blood Spider I was calling him on Fable, I was calling him Spider Sheehan, because he's like the knockoff Spider-Man, and he's got weaker webs, so I wonder if it was like, and it was like splat, splat, splat.
Anything else we want to talk about before we go into spoilers?
It was way too long.
It's way too long.
Should have been shorter. There's certain characters that I would not have mentioned at all.
You don't really need to have played the game.
No, well, it's the prequel.
It's the prequel.
I don't even think playing the game helps.
No, I don't think so either.
Because most people know who Fisk is and most Spider-Man.
You get the gist.
And
They'll
it was
explain it to
descriptive
you
enough.
they have to talk about the Uncle Ben story again, and so.
Because if you've never ever heard of Spider-Man, this would give you a lot of background information.
It would give you a lot of background. I guess it's a good first Spider-Man story.
I also wrote this on Fable, so you guys can come join us on Fable. It's free app. It's on our Goodreads page as well.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the first couple chapters are free to read, and you can be a lurker. That's fine if you want to just read our comments, or if you want to comment as well. Mm-hmm. But the Avengers Tower is in here.
Yeah.
And it's in the game.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man is not attached to the Avengers.
No.
I need someone to explain that to me.
I guess in this universe, he's just not part of them.
It's a multiverse? Is that what?
Yeah, they're all multiverses. This is a different universe than what we see in the movies.
Mm-hmm. But I'm like, why put the tower in?
So they can play the little Avengers ditty when you get too close to it.
Because no Iron Man is mentioned at all. It's just the Avengers Tower. They don't mention the Avengers by, like, name. It's just the Avengers
never
Tower.
help out with any of this stuff.
They're gone. They're like, don't exist.
They're never there. They're never home.
Traveling. We're traveling. All right, are you ready?
Yeah. Okay, we're going to spoil this whole thing. So if you want to read it, now's your chance to go read it and then come back. But if you don't care, then
welcome.
Welcome. We're here to tell you the entire plot of this book.
Chapter 1, we're in New York City, and we're at a snake store.
We're at a snake store. Peter has weird. He's like, it's so weird. I'm at a snake store. I can't believe I'm at a snake store. I've been in a snake store in New York.
Yeah. It's a Saturday night, and really he should be with MJ, but she's doing something.
And not telling him where she is.
Yeah, worst relationship ever.
They're terrible. Like, she trusts Harry more than she trusts Peter. So she tells Harry where she's at in case Peter decides to care enough to go ask Harry so that Harry...
But Harry's also not going to tell him.
But he does tell him.
When he
tells him all the time. And I'm like, so why would she tell Harry if Harry's going to spill the beans to Peter?
It's a manipulative...
Just date Harry. You obviously trust Harry way more than you trust Peter, MJ.
He's got that money, honey.
And he's wealthy.
He's also very intelligent,
he's
too.
A cool guy.
Like, the Harry in the games, it's not bad.
No.
Besides the fact that he's got
Besides the fact that he looks like he's super young.
He kind of looks like young Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Oh. But that'll do it for you, huh?
Yep. Heartthrob from the 90s. It literally said, quote, she's doing something, so he doesn't care. Because she won't tell him, and he doesn't really care. All the cages are smashed, and there's a dark figure. We get the quote, his real name was Peter Parker, and 8 years ago, he had been bitten by a radioactive spider. So the POV in this book changes multiple times within the chapter. Yeah, sometimes it's third person, mostly it's first person, and then sometimes it's Peter, sometimes it's Bingham, Maya, everyone.
If you're listening to the audiobook, it's really jarring because you don't get the
the chapters at least have a dash. I'm trying to find it.
So it'll just switch.
But it's like 2 paragraphs, and then there's this giant dash in the middle of the page, and then you get the next chunk.
The POVs switch all the time, and it's so annoying.
So
in the middle of the chapter too. Ugh.
This tells us that Peter is 23. And again, the first couple chapters are probably the best part of this book.
Yeah. So somebody's stealing snakes, or at least trying to steal snakes at the snake store.
He catches up to him. The guy runs to a port where a cruise ship is. Mm. And then he webs him. And then he's like, hey, Spider-Man.
Yeah, the thief,
I'm not really
the thief is throwing snakes at Spider-Man. When he was running away, but it turns out that his bag was just full of rubber snakes. Because after Spider-Man webs him, he's like, what? Why didn't you have rubber snakes in here?
He says so the snakes wouldn't get lonely. Because he was supposed to steal snakes, but he doesn't
for
steal
a job.
anyone.
He says some guy wanted him to steal a specific snake, but he didn't manage to get it. And we find out that his name is Andy. Because Spider-Man's interrogating him right now.
He also said he ran from Spider-Man because he thought he was Daredevil.
Yeah, he's he didn't know who Spider-Man was, and he's like, oh, you don't know? And he's like, oh, I thought you were Daredevil. But apparently Andy's brother is doing stuff for Scorpion, so he tells him about where Scorpion's base is.
Yeah, it's a construction site.
And so Spider-Man's like, I'm going to go check that out, and lets Andy go and tells him to go volunteer at Feast, which is the nonprofit that Aunt May runs.
Yes.
A
homeless
shelter.
She's the manager, yeah. They do a bunch of stuff there.
Yeah.
So, chapter 2, of course, he goes to the construction site. MJ's still not answering his calls, but she finally calls him back, and he's, in the middle of fighting.
Yeah, he's, sneaking around when she calls, and she's like, we don't have to talk right now. If you're busy. And he's like, oh, I'm not super busy, as he's taking guys out and stuff.
Okay.
And then, it drove me insane because she's like, we don't have to talk. He's like, no, I'm almost done. We can talk. And then he hangs up on her because his spider sense tingles.
Yeah. But also, he says that his suit has a built-in camera, so he can take pictures of things.
Yeah.
But I think it was the previous chapter, he talks about the fact that he's done, over these 8 years, he's caught a lot of people, but the majority of them have been let go because they've been, it says, entrapment. So all of this work he is doing is for nothing.
It's pointless.
But I'm like, you have a built-in camera. Can't you give that to the police? What? I don't get it.
I don't get it. I guess I don't know. Half the police station trust him.
There's a lot of corruption in the police department. And I forgot to mention also the fact that this book did come out before the first game. But
oh, yeah.
2 weeks before. It's a trap. It was obviously a trap.
So
Spider-Man needs to get it together.
Some person in a baklava is leaping around fighting him, and he's moving exactly like Spider-Man.
This is chapter 3. I also like the fact that he was not impressed with Scorpion's henchmen.
Well, that wasn't even Scorpion's henchman.
It's not. I did look up what a black clava was when I posted that picture on Facebook.
Yeah, you got a corn-shaped one. That's fun.
It's a ski mask.
It's just a ski mask, yeah. But like the Baklava Man just like kind of leaps around and fights him a little bit, but then just dips.
He tears his suit though, which is important later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird.
So Spider-Man's like, I'm gonna go talk to Andy about like why'd he set me up,
yeah,
dude?
Scorpion's not here. Like, this is weird. So he goes back to Andy, and the police are there.
He's like on his way to Andy, and he gets radio chatter that tells him basically Andy's dead.
Yeah.
So Andy was just a pawn.
Rip.
And
the first of many to die.
And we find out that someone is actually tracking Spider-Man in a way.
That was later. But no, Spider-Man is suspect numero uno for Andy's. You talking about the thing that was on his skin?
No, I'm not. Yeah. Well, he just is freaked out because he's like, oh, somebody knew that I was doing the snake store thing. Yeah. And then, like, knew I would go to the Scorpion site, so tracking him isn't, like, that way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a trap. It was a setup. Chapter 4, we find out that Andy was shot, which is not something that Spider-Man does.
The spider gun.
And we see Lieutenant Yuri Watanabe, and I was like, uh-oh.
Yuri Watanabe.
Especially if you played the games.
She wants to... I mean, she's like, oh, hands up, you're suspect number 1, but then she's like, just kidding, haha. She wants to show him something.
But he sounds like a kid.
Yeah. So she shows him the video feed of him meeting with Andy previously, and then when he leaves, some other Spider-Man comes up behind him with a gun and just shoots him.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, that doesn't seem like something that you would do. So, and also the suit looks different, so we know that that's not.
But barely. There's like, the lines don't match up.
The lines don't match up. And all of the villains know. They're like, obviously that's not the real Spider-Man. I pay very close attention to his suit as he punches me in the face. And so does Yuri, who's apparently a super fan, and is like, oh, the lines are different.
Looking at all the footage. He tells her everything. He's like, there's a construction site. It's owned by Wilson Fisk, I think is what she tells him.
Yeah. He's like, oh, it's a Scorpion base. And she's like, oh, it's a Fisk.
Yeah, it's a shell corp, but...
the Kingpin.
Yeah, and then we find out how much he loves the Kingpin.
Oh my god.
Chapter 5?
Chapter 5.
So Peter reminisces on his past with Fisk, and then we see...
Apparently he had a past with Fisk, where he, like, put him in jail-ish.
Yeah, he tried. I had this conversation with someone else, too, where Fisk is, to me, especially because of the show, is linked more to Daredevil than to Spider-Man.
Really?
But he is at the beginning of the first Spider-Man game.
He's also in the Spider-Man movie, across the first animated one, Across the Universe or whatever. Across the verse.
Yeah.
Spider-Verse.
But the Fisk is kind of the reason why Uncle Ben dies.
And that's why Spider-Man tried to put him behind bars. And then he walked, obviously, because he couldn't keep him behind bars. And then
then he goes to, like, Europe.
Fled overseas. Yeah. And then a year ago...
Well, his wife's in Japan, I think, right?
I don't know.
Well, that's later on in the book. His wife's not there, but he's very loyal to his wife.
That's his one thing.
Yeah.
Fisk is back, baby. It's been a year.
Peter's suit is torn and smells. And then there is a little tracking device where it was cut on his skin.
Yeah, so his suit's outside is scent-proof, which is, I don't know how you do that, but impressive. So if it gets stinky, only he can smell it.
You can't smell me!
Yeah, so Spider-Man's suit was bugged to transmit data, and now he wants to
It's just like his locale, right?
It just says transmit data, whatever that means.
Well, he knows where he goes, so it's data. Like, where, send me your location.
He wants to see MJ, so he goes to Mary Jane's apartment, and she's not there. So
he goes to Harry.
He thinks about calling Harry, and MJ tells Harry stuff. She didn't tell Peter, and Harry was just in his apartment. He
probably listens, and he answers his phone when she calls him.
Reading medical journals, and
This whole, like, hiding the thing with Harry, because they do this the whole time. They tell us that Harry's going to go to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
He's reading all these medical journals. He's just going to, quote unquote, travel, right?
Yeah.
And because his dad's being weird with Peter later on about, like, oh, well, he should be concerned about what happens after he comes back. But it's like, we find out in the game that he's sick.
Yeah. We find out in the second game he's sick.
Yeah.
Because he's gone in the first game.
Yeah, his voice is in it, but he's not in it.
So there's a lot of stuff about him. I wonder if they had like a plan for the next
Like
couple Spider-Man games.
Yeah, okay.
Because we know, the fact that we know stuff about Harry from Spider-Man 2 kind of helps out a lot.
Yeah, because other than that, it's super vague.
It's super vague. They never talk about it. So maybe play Spider-Man 2 before reading this.
That game was forever long.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't bad. There's just a lot of stuff that happened on that game. It was
chaotic.
3 games in one.
It needs to be a little more focused.
Yeah. MJ's in Hell's Kitchen. She's writing an audition piece for the Bugle about Fisk is doing these apartment complexes where like half of them are low income.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's interviewing one of the people that live there. And I get having like an audition piece, but also typically you write these pieces and you submit them to newspapers to get published. And then you have your portfolio. These are all the stories that have been published for me.
Well, I think she's had a multiple portfolio, but she's planning on using this piece to get her to write more about Fisk.
Yeah, which was
later on. So she wants to be on the the Fisk beat, but so she's writing a kind of like a complimentary piece about him.
But it was also really weird because she does get hired by the Bugle, and her job is a features.
Her job
reporter.
is to do puff pieces, which is what she was talking about. So she did before.
But they tell you what piece to write, and she's doing whatever she wants, and it's like, girl, this is not how newspapers
I feel
work.
like she's writing the puff pieces, but she's also doing her. She's trying to write an article to pitch it.
Yeah.
So that's why she's doing all this Fisk stuff. Anyway, Peter takes a cab to go see her because Hell's Kitchen's dangerous at night, and he wants to defend her or whatever, but he never fucking does.
Yeah, and she's like, I got over you being out at night. You know, you need to give me space and trust me, then I'll be okay. And then a mugger shows up.
Yeah, okay, the mugger just shows up so that way she could drop kick him so we can see what a tough chick MJ is.
She needs him.
She's like, oh, thank you for being here to save me.
Chapter 6.
Yeah?
We meet Maya. Maya's deaf. Maya Lopez. And she's sparring with others. We find out she works for Fisk. This was a little confusing to me because it wasn't really explained later that Maya speaks with normal intonation and tone because she's worked on it because she doesn't want people to know she's deaf. But she reads lips. Mm-hmm. And so she'll have a conversation in the next chapter with Fisk, and they don't tell you that she reads lips until later on. So they tell you she's deaf, but then I was just confused for multiple chapters.
Why?
Because I have deaf friends, and that's not how this works. Like, tell me how you're having a conversation about someone, but they don't tell you that till way later. So I was like, is he signing because he's her foster father?
Oh, I just figured that she was working on it because she really doesn't want people to know that she's deaf. So Fisk is like her foster dad.
Yeah.
And he's watching her spar at this gym. He gets some bad news, and because he's trying to fix his image, he's like trying to attack his employees less.
Yes. He's got anger issues.
He's trying to not kill them.
But then he gets information and he's like, ooh, were you holding back? And he's like, she's a deaf girl. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Everyone sparring with Maya was like, I don't want to hurt this deaf girl. So then he like breaks one of their legs.
Dude, he like beats the shit out of this guy. And Maya's like, oh, well, he had a kid. I feel kind of bad.
Oh, well, at least he didn't kill him.
Yeah. He's getting better.
So Maya goes to her apartment suite, and she apparently has hidden cameras in Fisk's office so she can see what he's up to.
And look at his computer screen.
Yeah, it sounds like she trusts him 100%. Mm-hmm. So Fisk is watching the footage of that Spider-Man fight with the imposter at the construction site. And Maya sees that, and she's like, oh, it's the guy that killed my dad! Spider-Man.
Yeah, the guy that's known for killing people. Spider-Man.
Remember that time he killed him with a gun?
In chapter 7 is where Maya confronts Fisk because she just like runs into his
He
office.
bursts into his office and is like,
And
I saw you watching.
Well, the screen's still up. And
Yeah.
so he's like, oh, well, she sees my screen. And we find out the man in black is Michael Bingham. Bingham? How did they say it?
Bingham.
Bingham? Okay. Michael Bingham. And Google tells me that is the blood spider. So I was like, I don't know
So
who this is.
Fisk found somebody to match Spider-Man.
Yeah, he has the
He's
same
a
moves.
contractor who's been medically experimented on because when Maya was like, who's that? Why is there 2 Spider-Men? What's going
Don't
on?
worry about it.
He's like, I guess I'll just tell you. That's my Fisk impression. I hope you like it. I found Michael Bingham.
That's good.
And I hired him as a contractor. So she's gonna go do more research on Bingham. I'm just copying what the P. Cross did for Fisk. So
That's good. That's pretty good.
thank you. That's my audition for Fisk. Is he coming back in the next Spider-Man game? I want to be him.
They're bringing back Daredevil.
I love my
Be him in
wife. I miss my wife,
My whole
Spider-Man.
personality is I'm angry and I love,
And I
my
love
wife.
my wife.
Chapter 8, we meet Theodore Payton, who is the finance guy for the lab.
Yeah, apparently he's important. I never wrote anything about him because I was like, oh, who cares?
Parker is working on a synthetic neural relays for his boss, who they don't mention who it is.
They never
And
mention who
you
it
don't
is.
meet him in the book. You do meet him in the game.
You do.
Really early on.
I wonder if they were trying to save it for a reveal. If like, oh, he's working for Doc Ock.
Because they're
Spoilers
also
for the game,
doing, what are they making?
regrowing limb things.
Yeah, it was,
Some lizard stuff. Because
But it-
lizard was also in the first game.
but it was also neural pathway stuff for, like fake limbs and prosthetics.
yeah.
But they don't ever talk about Doc Ock. They just call him the boss, and he's not in the book at all.
No, he's not.
So you have to
So
deal with
that's
Peyton.
why I'm like, maybe they told him not to bring up Doc Ock.
But they
when he
talk
wrote the
very
book.
specifically about what they're working on. in the
Yeah,
lab.
and it's kind of obvious, but
We meet a new undergrad assistant. Her name is Annika.
Anika.
It's Anika?
That's how he said it in the
All
book.
right. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name. She walks in jeans and a faded Spider-Man t-shirt. And she says, does she have an Indian accent?
She didn't in the book.
Oh.
The guy just made her sound like MJ.
She says she's wearing it ironically because scientists are the real superheroes.
Yeah. So this is when we first see that Peter's having a crisis about being Spider-Man because he's like, oh, it's getting in the way of my life. I'm falling asleep at work. And he's wondering if he's just making things worse. And like he's getting chewed out right now by Peyton. And so Nico walks in and he's like, oh, new assistant. She's like, sorry for walking in on you or you were getting chewed out.
Embarrassing.
She basically asked if he has a girlfriend.
And he didn't,
Straight
quote,
up.
didn't want to shut her down.
I know. So he's like, I won't shut her down. I'll tell her later. And I was like, I'm sorry. Are you planning on breaking up with MJ anytime soon?
The red flag man to run behind us.
Oh my gosh. Peter. I don't like Peter in this book because he takes so long to tell Anika that. And Anika straight up asks, twice. She puts down she asks him, did you have a hot date last night? Is that why you're so sleepy? And he's like, oh, she's obviously asking me if I have a girlfriend. I'm going to not tell her.
I don't want to make her feel bad. We work together.
Leading her on.
Yeah, it was rude.
He's terrible.
Rude. Chapter 9, MJ is waiting to see Robbie, who's the editor.
Claire Parker.
But she meets Betty Brandt. And she asks, oh, are you Peter's wife?
Yeah, you're Peter's wife,
Because
right?
Peter used to work for the Bugle.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I'm his girlfriend. Don't rush us.
Oh my god.
They should not be in a relationship together.
Before this job, she was basically Peter's manager, which I think he needs.
Yeah.
He needs somebody who's
an
like
assistant
to be his secretary.
to like pay his bills and clean his apartment.
He needs his traditional wife.
He needs a trad wife. Or he just needs an assistant. I didn't know that Jameson got fired
I guess
from
so.
The View. And I was like, Jameson's not the editor? Who's the editor? What's happening? We see Jameson and we'll hear
from
later.
Jameson later.
They're hiring her to write the stories that they tell her to write and not about Fisk.
And they're like, maybe you can go after Fisk later once you put the time in.
Yeah.
So
You're new here. Chapter 10.
Back to Maya.
Maya dreams that she has a handprint on her face, which is her trademark.
Yep.
She is stalking Bingham. She wants to know who this imposter
Bingham is apparently wearing a better Spider-Man suit than he wore at the construction site, which is super weird.
I thought he was in all black.
He has a different suit, and he wanted to show him that he was an imposter. That was kind of confusing. Anyway, Maya's following him. Bingham goes to a wine bar and like webs a homeless man in front of the patrons, and then he goes back to his apartment, and she's like, I gotta talk to this dude.
Also, she could have well, at first she was like, am I going to do this the easy way or the hard way? Like, should I wait for him to leave and just snoop around his apartment, or should I like confront him?
Super funny.
But
if
also,
she went into that apartment because it has like jars of pee and jars of cockroaches and like gross. One chair. Could you imagine walking into that apartment and being like, "Oh, this guy's unhinged. I don't want to talk to him."
She saw him leave the apartment. She could have gone in when he left.
She could have done that
instead of following him.
But she wanted to see what he was gonna go do.
Yeah, so she decides to take the direct approach, and in chapter 11, she brings the drinks I put to the grossest apartment.
She saw him get pizza.
Like
so she's like, my best in to get into his house is to pretend like I saw him get pizza, and now I'm going to bring him soda. Yeah. Would you? If somebody was like, "Do you want some soda to go with that pizza?" I'd be like,
knocks on his door.
How do you know that I have pizza?
She's trying to be like, I'm so cute. Invite me in. Stranger danger.
It's kind of a weird, but it worked.
Yeah, that apartment was disgusting, by the way. He like throws her against the wall and is like really fast.
Well, because she's standing.
Impressed.
He doesn't want to like invite her in because she's being weird. And
but
she's
then
like,
she's like, I saw you
swinging around outside, and he's like, how'd you know that?
She's like, tell me what you're up to.
Oh, the question. So actual Peter like goes outside his apartment window when he's
why
Spider-Man.
Is no one seeing that?
Why does nobody notice?
Because it's New York, people mind their own business.
That the only like, I don't know, you're hanging out and you see Spider-Man come out of one window all the time, and you're like, I think Spider-Man lives there. Right? I don't know.
He needs his own Batcave.
I don't live in New York, so
mind your business. So she wants to know what's going on with him, and Bingham is like, no. And then he takes out this picture of Spider-Man, which was super weird.
It was weird. And
then he's like, this is me. I'm the real Spider-Man. And he just like keeps this picture on him.
Yeah.
Just like,
okay.
What a weirdo. Chapter 12.
She asked him what his mission was tonight. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm not going to tell you because I still want to get paid. And then tells her to get out. Yeah. It was basically pointless. She got like nothing out of that other than we know that this guy is.
And now he knows who she is.
Insane, yeah. And he also knows that she's deaf. Because she was putting something down and he was talking to her. And because she couldn't read his lips.
I don't remember.
He was behind her. Okay. Talking, and then she only replied to him when she turned around and saw him repeat the question, and then he's like, oh, you're deaf.
Which, for such an idiot as Bingham is,
he's like, not a full idiot.
Really smart. Like, in fact, he's got a tracker for Spider-Man, and he does some other stuff later on that I'm like,
I think he's not dumb, but I think he's just crazy.
I also think someone else is telling him what to do.
Well, that's true.
Because I'm like, you're kind of dumb.
But also, well, he got smarter with the Spider-Man juice, right?
But the stuff that he says,
he got more observant
to like Peter and to even Maya when he talks about his backstory and stuff. When he's like, "Oh, they called me fat," and then he just got such issues. I just can't.
He's got a lot of issues. Chapter 12.
Okay. Peter meets MJ for sandwiches at his favorite sandwich spot. She tells him about the bugle.
When you meet up with MJ in the first game, don't you also meet at a sandwich location?
Yeah.
I wonder if they talk about it being destroyed. Spoilers.
I don't
know. Yeah, so Peter plans on Spider-Manning it up and he tries to go out every day, is what it says at the beginning of the chapter, before he meets MJ for sandwiches. Because apparently he left for a vacation once, and like people thought they're like, oh, Spider-Man's too good to help this crime. Honestly, I think he just needs to get over it.
Yeah.
He needs to be like, he can't be there for everyone all the time in this giant city of New York.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries to be, because that's like his mantra. Because he's like, oh, I didn't do anything for Ben, so I have to do everything for everyone all the time.
Favorite neighborhood Spider-Man.
And it's like, you can't do everything for everyone all the time. There's too many crimes in New York. You have to just kind of do what you can and just accept the criticism.
Yuri calls on his date, and instead of being like, hey, I'll be there in half an hour, he's like, oh, sorry, MJ, I gotta go again. She calls him a dork and asks, why do you have a girlfriend?
Yeah, Yuri calls in the middle of their dinner date.
Is awful in this.
And then Yuri's like, well, Yuri's awful in general. I'm not gonna lie, Yuri's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Honestly, so is MJ. She's like, tell your girlfriend you have to go catch Fisk. So just ditch her.
But not, because it's like a 10-minute conversation that they could have had on the phone like an hour later. It wasn't imminent.
Yeah. He dashed out. They meet in a secret location. Apparently, she worked the old Fisk case, so she knows how bad he is. And
she's got inside people, and so they have a file that she wants him to take a picture of. That's
all she wants.
Yeah.
And he's like, why can't you get a detective to do that? Why do I have to do that?
Or why can't the people that work there take a picture of it?
I don't know. So he's gonna go do that while going, at night, while going around Fisk Tower. He gets a call from Annika, whatever.
I just put weird intern call.
Obviously likes him, and she's like, oh, I have a question.
You can call me that.
But I can't blame her, because she obviously liked him immediately.
First day.
And then oh, God, I'm not mad at her yet.
I mean, he is adorable.
Yeah.
He is also...
he's like, oh, that phone call was so cute. Yeah. I'm not going to tell her about MJ yet, though. So Fisk is in his tower. When he's going to go in there to take a
he's going to... So he goes into Fisk Tower. There's cameras, and so he webs them so that they won't oscillate. He learns about Maya.
Yeah, he eavesdrops on Fisk and Maya talking. And then Spider-Man...
he does this, we have to be too big to fail speech.
So it cuts to Spider-Man talking to Yuri about the conversation he hears between Maya and Fisk. And he apparently took a picture of the document, but we didn't read about that. So... and then Maya, it cuts back to Maya, and she notices that the cameras are not moving, and she just notices the webbing, and is like,
question. Mad. Are these her cameras? Her secret cameras, or are these just cameras in the office?
I think it's just cameras.
Because she was like, oh, I have to get security on this ASAP. But I'm like, what if they're your cameras? Then you wouldn't tell them. Yeah. But then you'd still have a problem because Spider-Man's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the cameras were by his office, right?
That's true, but they weren't going in his office. So.
Chapter 13, Peter oversleeps for breakfast with May, so he has to go meet her at Feast, where we run into Martin Lee. And he's what a good guy.
What a great guy. I love Mr. Negative.
Which is ironic because he's so positive, and then he becomes
Mr. Positive, and he turns into Mr. Negative.
He meets Harry, so he goes and has coffee with May. And then he goes to coffee with Harry.
This is immediately, he never hangs out with May in this book. Yeah. Barely ever.
She's mentioned 3 times, I think.
Also, we don't really need to know about Martin Lee or Mr. Negative.
No.
I have to, they don't say he's Mr. Negative, but he is in the first game.
And MJ talks about Martin Lee with Fisk.
But that's it. It's so unnecessary.
And then, he pops up one other time. But that could have been totally cut out. I would have been fine with that.
So he should just go hang out with Harry to get second coffee.
They get 2 coffees together. I'm like, when I hang out with friends at coffee shops, I drink 1 coffee.
He's just wired.
I'm not
Peter's
drinking.
Wired all the time. It's his spider powers. He has to drink more caffeine than everyone else.
Well, he talks about that his healing ability and stuff makes him eat more than anyone else.
Yeah.
But, it's too much coffee, dude. They talk about MJ. But Harry's not going to tell him.
Harry's not going to tell him. Norman Osborn, Harry's dad, walks into the coffee
And everyone's
shop.
like, ooh, the mayor. And Harry's super pissed.
I can't believe because Harry is chapter 14 at this point.
Me.
But he's like, I'm pretty sure he's having me followed. Norman comes over and tries to convince Peter to work at Oscorp. And Harry's like, oh my god, Dad, stop.
He said no, okay, Dad?
He said no, Dad. Stop trying to hang out with my friends.
This is where he says Harry
So
needs a plan
embarrassing.
after Europe. Harry storms out.
Yeah, Norman doesn't like Harry's upcoming trip to Europe either for some reason. And Harry's like, I'm leaving. So he's leaving Peter with his dad. And his dad is like, don't help Harry. That's my job. And I'm like, but Peter...
This was weird.
Peter isn't helping Harry.
No, he's not.
Peter's doing nothing for Harry at this moment.
No.
Harry is doing everything.
He's not even like asking about his Europe trip.
Peter's doing Harry's doing everything for Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Harry is giving Peter advice on his relationship.
And he's the middleman. He's like, calm and MJ down.
So Peter's doing nothing but being annoying. So anyway, Peter goes back to his normal job.
And so, Norman's like, oh, I just came to get a coffee. I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
All right. What's this name again? What's this lady's name again?
Anika?
Anika. I put this Anika chick sets off my spidey sense. Like, he's immediately was like, I should tell her I'm Spider-Man. We're back at the lab.
Oh my god.
He's like, I've only told 2 people.
Peter
I should tell her.
And not Harry, his friend. Anyway, Anika shows up and is like, did you get my phone call? And he's been leaving her on read, right?
Yeah.
He wants to tell her that he's Spider-Man because she says that he's so smart. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? He does like a roundabout way of telling her he's Spider-Man. He's basically like, I have multiple jobs.
Yeah, he's like, I have a lot of responsibilities outside of this job.
And a lot of power.
Yeah.
And a lot of responsibility.
And he tells her about Uncle Ben and the thief.
So they're having like a heart-to-heart, and Anika talks about like, okay, well, when I was younger, I didn't get as good grades as my sister, and she's from like an Indian household, right? So she had to figure out, she's like, okay, I'm not gonna be the smart one.
So I took an medieval history class. And I didn't do well on that.
I was really into science all of a sudden. So that was my
weird.
thing. She's like,
what a weird chapter.
You have to find your thing, Peter. Mine is science. And I was like, okay.
His is also science.
His is also science.
And everything else.
He needs an easier job.
She does ask him again if he has a girlfriend, and he's like,
in the worst way possible. They're having this heart-to-heart about like Uncle Ben and her family past situation. And then she's like, something, maybe with your potential girlfriend.
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
And I was like, why are you bringing up the girlfriend thing right now, girl?
Secondhand embarrassment.
I'm embarrassed. I put bad timing in parentheses.
Yeah, it was. Peter's thinking, like, it was a crime, I should have stopped it. And then she says, it's common sense. If you worry over decision, try to protect every possible ramification. It must drive your friends crazy. Or your girlfriend. If you have
or
one.
your girlfriend. I know you're talking about your dead uncle, but like, do you have a girlfriend?
He's like, yeah, I do have a girlfriend. And I think she does find me kind of difficult to be around sometimes. Bad boyfriend.
And then it got awkward.
Yeah.
But honestly, now is not the time to shoot your shot again, girl.
Mm-hmm. Now you know. Separate.
So anyway,
Also,
chapter
doesn't he
15.
have pictures of her on his desk.
I guess not.
Chapter 15, we're back to Maya.
Maya tells Fisk to attack Spider-Man soon.
She says that he's in the office, too.
Fisk is...
He's like, back off.
No.
Like, I'm so over this Maya story, and we're not even halfway through the book.
I'm over Maya. I don't like Maya that much. Sorry, Echo. I think Echo's a cool idea, but she really doesn't need to be in this book.
No. MJ comes to interview Fisk, and Maya threatens her.
Yeah, straight up, Maya introduces herself, and she's like, are you actually going to write a puff piece, or are you going to write slander?
Yeah, because reporters often say they're going to do one thing and then lie.
And they do another thing, and then I kill them. And she's like, well, I think if I did something else, I'd get fired. And so Maya's like, whatever, and then leaves.
And then Maya goes to meet a man at a hot dog cart. And it's
J. James
Jonah
Jameson.
the best place. He bought 2 hot dogs and told her to get a hot dog.
The
and she's
best character in this whole book.
No.
He did a very good job at writing Jameson,
Yeah.
I think. And also, you know what's funny about Jameson? He still has, like, integrity.
Yeah.
He's, like, the only one with integrity still.
She offers him a radio show.
To bully Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But Fisk doesn't know about it.
He does. So he's like, oh, I know it's a financial backer. So he doesn't know that it's Fisk.
Mm-hmm.
Jameson doesn't. And then also we find out Maya did this behind Fisk's back because she wants to go after Spider-Man. And so
she thought she could demoralize Spider-Man by having Jameson just bully him on the air.
And it's a radio show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then later he
gets his pod blast.
But yeah, the podcast is at the very end. But then he's like on television. So I was confused again.
Okay, what drives me crazy is like he talks about like why I shouldn't have a podcast.
Yeah.
He calls it a pod blast, which I was like, oh my god.
It's true.
And then he has one at the end of the book because he has one in the game.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I don't want one of those newfangled thingamajiggers, and then he just makes one anyway. So
so he does find out that Fisk is the one sponsoring him, and then he decides to go like, okay, but I'm still gonna go after Fisk.
I hope you know.
Like, I have
I'm gonna be
journalistic
honest
integrity
about Fisk.
And then when all the stuff at the end goes down, he leaves the radio show to start his podcast.
Yeah. The Blast with Jameson.
So back to chapter 16 now. MJ goes to interview Fisk.
She's in Fisk's waiting room when Peter calls,
whole thing was creepy.
And they fight, and
because he's dangerous, and she's like, "Don't you trust me?" And he's like, "I don't trust him."
I don't know why she, at this point, decides to tell him
with
where
what
she's
happened
at.
with Uncle Ben, and he's just like, "Lady."
She wants to do
dangerous.
the Fisk thing. He needs to find a different girlfriend that doesn't want to, like, change the world. He needs kind of a milquetoast, bland girlfriend.
I think Fisk is a sensitive subject for him, and he knows how dangerous he is. That, I mean, if Fisk were to punch her, she'd be dead.
True.
So I think it's both, where she's like,
I understand.
You're in a dangerous profession, and I trust you. I need you to trust me. But he's like, you don't have the same special abilities that I do. And she's like, I don't need those special abilities. Like, I can see both sides on this one.
I can see both sides on this one. But, like, I think Peter should drop it away sooner than he did, to be honest. He kind of just beat a dead horse at this point.
She is not meeting him in the middle of the night in an alleyway, right? She's meeting him
in his
people
office.
Know where she is.
Well, she even said that. She was like, they know where I am. If anything goes down, and she's like, I'm going to make sure it doesn't go down, right?
And she's going through channels just like Yuri.
She's trying to do charisma checks, right? To see if she can get anything out of him, but with, you know.
And Fisk is a creep, and he says that she needs him in order to succeed. And they both think they're manipulating each other. And they talk about Spider-Man, which was...
I put MJ's face gives her away when she asks about Spider-Man. Yeah. And, like, very relatable. I couldn't hide my face either.
Poker face. I do not have one of those.
So he's like, what's your thoughts on Spider-Man?
He's my boyfriend! Just kidding.
And she's basically like, I think we need him.
Yeah.
You know? He's important. And then Fisk comes back with, do you think that the supervillains are made because of Spider-Man?
Without the superhero, we wouldn't have the supervillains and vice versa.
And she's like, I think the superheroes are because of the supervillains. And then they just agree to disagree, I guess. I wouldn't be this evil if it wasn't for Spider-Man. Yeah. And we know that's not true, Fisk. No. She says, we need them. He says, they're too messy. Oh, superheroes are too messy. Yeah. You think they are messy. Oh, his other argument was they are messy because they cause all this, like, destruction and stuff, and people have to clean up after them. But I'm like, but then the crime still happens, and isn't that also messy? But
I think it's just exponentially increased because you have a higher force to go against versus, like, just crushing police officers.
Well, he does, like, back deal drug and, like, human trafficking kind of stuff. He also
breaks shit on his desk all the time. That his mail.
Yeah, you shouldn't talk about messy, Fisk.
What is it? his male secretary has to come in and clean up all the time.
Yeah.
Reason why I'm saying it's such a point with the male secretary, because that comes up later with Bingham.
With Bingham.
I'm almost like, what a creep.
Bingham is a creep.
There's so many weird things about that. Every time I'm like, why is that in here? This is so weird.
All right, let's move on to chapter 17.
All right, MJ calls Peter, and
they fight again.
And someone's listening to their conversation because she's
God.
a creeper.
Yeah, Maya POV. She's listening to Peter fighting on the phone.
No, it's not Maya. It's
Anika. Anika. I don't know why I put Maya. It's probably because we just saw her.
Yeah.
So yeah, Anika's because Peter's at work right now, and she goes full Avril Lavigne girlfriend. I think it's called "Pick Me Girl."
Yeah.
Is what they say.
Hey, you.
I don't like a girlfriend. No way, no way. I think you need a new one. I could be your girlfriend.
So they're gonna meet at a sandwich place, and so Anika's
She's stalking him.
I know where that is.
So she follows
Maybe I'll
him
go there.
to the sandwich place where he's meeting MJ.
Yeah.
I don't know what her plan was here other than to be creepy and to see what his girlfriend looks like, because she goes full like, he needs a girlfriend that appreciates him.
It was, creep. I also she could not have been in here, and I would have been fine.
That would have been totally fine. And we know why she's in here, because it's about to go down.
Yeah.
And it's so dumb.
Also in chapter 17, I started calling him Spider Sheehan.
Okay.
Bingham. It's our knockoff. A knockoff. Visits Fisk, and he has a plan. So Bingham has a plan for Spider-Man tonight. And Fisk is like, what is it? He's like, none of your business.
It's like Fisk POV. He's walking back into his office, and Bingham is like going through his desk, stealing his paper clips.
Yeah.
And it's like, hello? What do you want? Because Bingham's been going rogue. Bingham. It's just been Venom.
Spider Sheehan.
It's just going, like, just doing whatever he wants at this point. So Bingham's like, check the news tonight.
And then as he's walking out, he says something to Maya, and that
he like shouts it. He's like, oh, it's the deaf girl.
Face. Yeah.
Hello. And so
is this also where he makes the comment about the male? Or that later?
Probably. I didn't write it down, but
oh, at the end I put Hulk smash. Anger management, dude.
Apparently Fisk didn't even want the fight at the construction site to happen.
That
was a Bingham thing.
Yeah.
So Bingham was like, I just wanted to make sure that I could take him in a fight.
Which we know really was
he hired those guys to be his backup too. Yeah. Those like inexperienced.
It was so that he could put the tracking device on Spider-Man so he could see where he goes. So
anyway, he leaves. He ran into Maya. He tells her hello very loud, and
so now
she's like, who is that? Who is that man?
And Fisk knows that they've met before because
he's like, how do you know you were deaf?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Oh, and Fisk is like, oh, if you know him, tell me and I'll forgive you.
It's okay.
And she's like, nope, never saw that man in my life before. I don't know what you're talking about.
For someone she's so loyal to,
she's so
untrustworthy.
She's so untrustworthy of him, and I feel like that should have been played more into her character, because the way that her internal monologue is in this book is that she trusts him completely, but she does stuff like have the hidden cameras and straight up lie to him and go behind his back. And I feel like when she does switch sides, which you know that she does,
and she checks out that safe that
she does it so fast that I'm like, she should have already been skeptical, but the way that she was written made it seem like she was down for Fisk forever, baby.
And that he's such a great guy and he would never do a bad thing, but she sees him smash stuff all the time.
I know, she should have been like, I don't know. I wish she was written a little bit better to make more sense. Yeah, so he smashes his desk. Chapter 18, Peter wants a sandwich.
Yeah, so they're going back to the sandwich spot. So he's now returned to the same spot twice. So guess what's going to happen? But
they're going to fight.
Had to set it up. He's going to have to leave again. So he sees these cops run out of the sandwich spot. And so he's like...
He's having a day with Mary Jane there that they can
never... They haven't even ordered their sandwiches yet because it's so busy.
She's just sitting there like writing on her computer, waiting for him. And he's like, oh, I made it on time. And she's like, yeah, I guess.
Surprise! You're not late or here at all.
But it's like busy. The sandwich shop is busy.
Yeah. So she gets in line and he runs out and he's like, pick me up a sandwich. I'll stop by later.
Yeah, she's like, I guess I'll get you takeout. Yeah. So and then we go to Anika's POV where she's also at the sandwich shop spying on Peter and MJ. And she's like, oh, she's so pretty. His girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I guess I might as well get a sandwich while I'm here, you know. Peter also kind of like saw her when he was running
Yeah,
out.
he's like, someone looks familiar as I was running out, but we don't talk about it.
But like I'm too busy having to turn to Spider-Man. I can't do this.
There is a hostage situation.
Oh, wait. So she saw Peter running out of with the cops, and she thought that was weird, and she's like, I gotta go talk to my cats about this afterwards. And I was like, what the heck?
So he's in a Spider-Man regalia, and he's talking to some of the police officers, like, hey, what's up? He talks to Jeff Davis.
Oh, Miles'
dad. And Jeff Davis tells him what's up.
Nice.
There's a hostage thing going on in the building, so he sneaks into the building, and surprise, surprise, there's no hostage negotiation or anything. There's no one in the building.
Yeah, it's just a dusty building.
Yeah.
So it was an auction house, and he goes to call Yuri and is like, there's no hostages here. I'm pretty sure this is a decoy. And then we cut back to
El Restaurante.
Anika's spying on MJ now. Got to order her sandwich.
And then MJ leaves.
I think she's still there.
But we don't. Yeah, I don't. At some point she has to leave though, because they don't talk about
MJ being in this scene. So at this point, it was a decoy to get Spider-Man out of there, I guess, or whatever. Or I don't know what the plan was. No. Oh, to distract the cops so that this could happen because the sinister Shocker walks in at the sandwich shop.
It's the Chien Shocker.
It's a fake Shocker.
He's wearing his getup,
but he's wearing the actual Shocker suit that they stole.
We find out later.
It's very so this guy's fake. He's basically an actor.
They are overdoing it. I think did I text you or I read this on Fable where it's like the conversation I feel is really bad overacting.
Yeah, the voice.
What are you doing here?
The
I am the Shock.
The audiobook did a really good job at doing this.
Is that what they did?
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, this is weird.
It's nice that he asked a teen if he had a heart condition before shocking him. Very polite. And then he says that he has a bomb, and then fake Spider-Man shows up to stop this actor, saying, "Ooh, I don't care about the hostages. Blow this place up."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm here for the money, not for the fame or whatever." Yeah. They have this verbal confrontation, which is so dumb and so fake.
And Anika is like, "I'm gonna film this." She's like, "I'm pretty sure that's not Spider-Man, but I'm gonna film this for the police." Later.
There also is like something caused like a hole in the wall or something, and so people start to leave through, but Anika's
trying to film and crawl through the hole in the wall.
Yeah.
I think at this point Mary Jane is probably already out.
She was like, screw this.
Yeah, she left immediately once the Shocker showed up. She's like, I'm not dealing with this. But he blew the doors closed. So she had to be, or maybe she went out through the wall. I don't know. We don't know, but
it just says they leave and then there's a flash of light.
All of a sudden, the Shocker guy is like, we have to leave.
Yeah, and they go through the
blood
kitchen.
Spider, and then the building explodes.
They go through the kitchen and leave, and so MJ calls Peter, and she's like,
Chapter
I'm okay.
19.
Oh, sorry, chapter 19.
Yeah.
I'm okay, but your favorite sandwich place is not.
Yes, she's like, oh, I'm okay. And Spider-Man's like, why wouldn't you be? And I was like, wow, all right. She's like, oh, you don't know? Your sandwich shop exploded. So he's standing and looking at the rubble.
And then, okay, so this just happened, right?
This just happened.
It just happened, and then all of a sudden, turn on the TV, and Jameson is on the TV, and they're showing footage from what we find out is Anika's phone, which, how did they get her phone, and how did they...
still missing. They put her face up on the screen,
They don't know who it is, but they have her phone and the information from her phone.
And it says that they put her face up.
It was an unidentified...
But they don't know who she is.
Yeah. They're trying to ID the woman, but they have her phone and they're showing her footage.
And they're showing her footage
right after it happened.
I know.
No.
And anyway, Spider-Man goes through the rubble.
And she dead.
She's dead.
He goes and he sees, and they bring her out on the stretcher and they put the thing over her face.
Yeah,
so he knows who she is.
Picking up rubble and looking through stuff, and everyone's like, "This is your fault, Spider-Man. Why are you
Stop helping us?"
So he did stop helping them once he found out that Anika is dead and she's being taken away. So
he goes to talk to Yuri.
Yeah.
And Spider-Shien, or Bingham, is watching him talk to Yuri.
Yeah.
And he ends up taking a picture of them.
Yep. Chapter 20.
We find out that 12 people died in the sandwich shop. I'm like, how big is the sandwich shop?
I can't imagine it being that big.
And how many people were in there? I know there was a long line, but
busy. But I thought
dang, like if you go to Subway on like a busy day,
there's 10 people.
There's like 10 people maximum.
Must be a really
bunch
good
of people
sandwich
left.
shop.
So
He loves a pastrami.
he does. That's his sandwich that he gets from that.
Peter is in the lab watching panels on TV about if that was the real Spider-Man or not. People are pretty divided around New York.
I would say most of the people on the panel, though, was like, it's not his voice.
It's not his voice and it's not his suit.
And that's not him. And so Jameson obviously is like, no, he's a crook.
Absolutely Spider-Man. What are you talking about?
But, and then it's super sad at the end of the chapter where he's at the lab and Anika's parents are there to pick up her stuff.
Yeah.
The intern that worked there for 2 days.
For 2 days. So, R.I.P.
Also, there's got to be some labor laws here because they work at the lab weird hours.
They do. Like overtime.
Later on, he works like a 12-hour shift and they're like, okay, come back in 2 hours. I'm like, there are laws against that? And no.
Yeah.
You're not a doctor or like, you're not performing surgery. You're doing a lab experiment that doesn't require you to be there for 12 hours.
No, it doesn't.
Maybe that's why that guy got fired.
I hope so.
Chapter 21?
Yeah.
So Bingham comes to see Fisk, and he wants to know what Bingham's next move is.
Because Fisk didn't authorize that restaurant attack.
No.
So...
And he's like, dude, you killed a bunch of people. Doesn't look good for us.
Yeah. I said Fisk basically is like, F you.
Yeah.
Maya's watching on the hidden cameras.
Bingham tells him, I'm an earthquake. You need to take shelter. Such a tool.
And then Bingham shows Fisk the picture of Spider-Man with Yuri. And then we get Bingham's backstory after this.
Yeah, I in my notes it says, this Bingham guy is certifiable. He's like, I'm the real Spider-Man. And this guy is crazy.
He is crazy.
He got picked on when he was young. His dad left? Died? But his mom had some boyfriends, and there's one that he liked that taught him how to...
In a box.
But then his mom got super depressed and
got sick.
Yeah.
So he accidentally bought a ticket to New York because he meant to go somewhere else.
But the town is in New York. He just didn't know that.
And then he became homeless.
He was like, oh, it's Greece. But it's New York. It's the same name of the town. So I'm like, this guy's not smart.
And like Spider-Man didn't help him one time, so he thinks Spider-Man is afraid of him. And then
his shoes got stolen.
And then now he believes that he and Spider-Man switched places so that Spider-Man stole his life or something like that. And then he was panhandling one day when some lady decided to take him to a secondary location and give him drugs.
Yeah.
That's what we know so far, because we're going to learn a lot more about Bingham.
But he's just crazy.
Later.
And this is where we get
he's from Binghamton.
He tells him, get a female assistant. It was this chapter.
Okay.
Gross. 22? Yeah, he's from Binghamton, so he's thought as a little kid that the town was his, and then he got made fun of when he was older, and he's like, yeah, this is my town. Everyone's like, okay.
Say the line. Okay, chapter 22, Spider-Man is collecting data for Yuri. People are starting to get scared of Spider-Man.
Yeah, every time he tries to help someone who's being mugged, and they both run away scared.
So now he's going to go to the villain bar to talk to Shocker about why you blew up the little sandwich shop.
So the bar with no name that he gets in because he's like, I just want to talk, and he's dressed as Spider-Man, and it's trivia night, and the answer is Lake Victoria. He finds out that the Shocker's suit was stolen.
Yeah, Scorpion pulls him aside and is like, okay, I'm going to help you find Shocker. He's in the back. He doesn't like trivia night. He's eating beans or something. So the Shocker is out of his suit in the back room, and he tells him that somebody stole his suit and took over his website that he had. Can you
get my suit back?
So Peter's like, oh, website? Easy. So Peter hacked into the website to look for the IP of where it's, being worked on.
And we find the faux Shocker.
So he got the info of where the fake Shocker is.
And the guy's in his bedroom with the outfit going like, I am the Shocker! Be scared of me!
He's practicing his lines.
And his name is Phil.
He pulls him out of his window And he's like, oh, it's not my fault. I'm an actor.
But I couldn't turn down this money.
He's-
Although I killed 12 people.
Yeah, I killed 12 people. He's getting paid to play the Shocker. He didn't know that there was a bomb, like an actual bomb.
But he's still doing stuff as the fake Shocker.
He's still shocking people. He doesn't know anything about the fake Spider-Man. Apparently they're not really in contact unless they're like fighting each other. He's just paying him like under the table.
Yeah.
So the police come to arrest Spider-Man, but Spider-Man swings away, so they just
He's
arrest.
like, I caught you, the
fake
Shocker guy. That was, it's part of the, and they were like, Spider-Man, you're under arrest. And he's like, dip.
Yeah, he's doing a lot in this book.
Chapter 23, we get MJ reported Fisk's plan falls short from reality. So he calls her into his office to talk numbers.
Because MJ actually wrote a hit piece.
Yeah, she was like, so I looked at your projected plan, and then I talked to your contractors, and it's not true.
So she got a talking to by her editor, because she went a little rogue.
I thought, you in danger, girl.
So
Why would you go
Fisk-
to his office after that? So
Fisk
dumb.
is like, you want a job in the future? And she's like,
She's like, are you offering me a job? He's like, no, but I'll pay you a year's salary for you not to be a reporter anymore. She's like, I want to be a reporter. That's why I'm doing this. He's like, are you sure?
So
And then he
Maya
sends
is in
her
the corner.
to the accountant to talk number. And I was like, that sounds so suspicious.
To show her that she was wrong in her article, and you should write another one. So she left.
She talked to the security guards before.
She ran into some military people.
Yeah.
And they were kind of stiff and awkward. She's like, that's weird. So she goes and meets with the accountant, but she likes to hang out and talk to the security guards.
Yeah. Because she's friendly with the people at the desk, which you should always be, because they have the best costs.
That's what she was saying.
And I don't care about Maya's history. So did we learn about Maya's history and I didn't care about it?
Oh, well, before that, she asked the security guards about the military guys.
No, they're the secret.
They're Roxanne Blackridge.
Yeah, which comes in the first game as well.
Yeah. So that's a lead that she's going to follow next.
Maya meets Jameson again.
Oh, Maya looks out the window at MJ. She's like, I wish I was more outgoing.
Yeah, I haven't talked to those security guards at all, and I've been here for years.
When she thinks about her past.
Yeah, I don't care about her past.
And like, so a drunk policeman came into her house and left a bloody handprint on her face when her dad shot the policeman. So that's why she likes the hand on her face, because that's when the only time she ever felt alive or
Is
real.
she Native American?
I think so. Yeah.
That's a Native American thing. Yeah,
I
know, but that is, I'm also like, that's what I thought the handprint came from, but I was like, why this backstory? I don't care.
And her people told her that, I don't know, that she can understand echoes or something, and so she likes that. Okay, anyway, she goes to talk to Jameson.
He knows that Fisk is behind the show, and he will not talk shit about Fisk. So he's like, if it comes up, I'm not going to keep my mouth shut. And Bingham is now stalking Maya.
He sees Maya put Jameson's contract away, too, so... Chapter 24, the real Spider-Man is stealing money from Fisk's criminals.
Yeah, this is not Spider-Man.
For a second, I was like, is this fake Spider-Man? And then no, it's just Peter Parker.
So he's crashing all these brothels and gambling rings, and then he's going to take the money and leave it at Feast, which I was like, this is not Spider-Man.
This is weird. So MJ calls Peter to tell him about the military contractors.
Ross and Blackridge.
And then we see Bingham is spying on Peter. Spider-Man. Not technically Peter, because he's no Peter Spider-Man. So you get it. You understand. Maya is walking to Fisk's tower and sees the real Spider-Man on the roof drinking coffee. And she's like, that's so human. It's disgusting. So she decides to go full Echo and fight Spider-Man on the roof that he's just like vibing at.
So he's going to follow the security people as they come out of his tower.
Yes.
And then, so he's like, but they break up and go in two different directions. So he's like, I guess I'll take this one.
Yeah.
And then
he just picks
gets
one.
in a fight with Echo.
Yeah. So
And
we find out that the military contractors, like the one he did follow, is taking pictures of this woman buying drugs.
Yeah, she had a little girl, and then she walked the girl to like school, and then she went to go. But he's just like creepily behind her, like snapping photos, and he's like, "That's weird."
So that'll come up later.
And then they fight.
And then Echo attacks with a spear. She's echoing his moves. Not talking to him because
She can't hear.
She can't read his lips. So
so
he's talking to her, and she's like, and he's like, "Why are you so quiet?" She's trying to unmask him, and she smacks him around a little bit, and then she just leaves.
Oh yeah, because she was gonna take his mask off and skewer him, and he's like, I can't let this happen.
Yeah.
And then she disappears.
The restraint on Spider-Man is amazing.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to hurt you, he won't. He'll just dodge you around you in circles until eventually he's like, okay, you know what?
Chapter 25. MJ and Peter talk again about how dangerous Fisk is.
Yeah, they're getting coffee again.
And they're going to meet with Harry before he leaves. Surprisingly, their date is not interrupted this time.
They talk about Echo and stuff. And Peter took pictures of her, and MJ's like, oh, that's Maya Lopez. I know her. She was in the room with me when Fisk was talking. And he's like, I can't believe you're hanging out with Fisk.
Again. He has a conversation with Harry, which I feel like the conversations he has with Harry are the most constructive of this whole book.
Yeah, so Harry's about to go to Europe. He tells Peter he's been fighting with his dad, and him and his dad are very similar. And Peter's like, do you have any tips for fighting with yourself? And Harry's like, be somebody else. They'll never see it coming. And that is good advice, but he never uses it. And I don't understand.
Peter does.
Doing what?
When he fights Bingham at the end, he's like, I know what I would do, so I'm gonna do the opposite. Oh. He says it like 4 times as they're fighting.
Okay. I liked it. I liked that line, but I didn't think he ever.
So far, Harry's the only character I liked in this book.
Also, Harry's like, don't helicopter parent MJ or you're gonna lose her, and then he leaves.
Chapter 26. Osborn and Fisk meet. Osborn asks if he made Spider-Chin and if there's more.
And Norman knows that the fake Spider-Man is under Fisk right now. Which we find out later.
And Bingham is watching the meeting. He's going to step in if he needs to. And then he talks about, like, killing babies. And I'm done with Spider-Chan.
And then Bingham's backstory about being experimented on.
Yeah, he killed some people, and in large capital letters I wrote, I don't care!
Well, I didn't even write anything, so I was like, oh, well, I really don't care.
Yeah,
did you know he's a bad guy?
Talking about killing he'd be okay with killing babies. I'm like, get out of here.
Cool. All right.
This is not my Spider-Man. Not my Spider-Man.
Well, this is Blood Spider. It's different.
No, this story of Spider-Man. I was like, this would not be in the game. Chapter 27. Peter meets MJ at the Bugle. The heroin buyer has a brother who is a DA. So MJ's doing all of his back. What is the point of Yuri?
She's pointless. She basically just tells him to do jobs that she could do herself.
He breaks up his dates and then was like, yeah, I'm going to need you to do this thing.
Yeah, terrible. MJ does most of the work.
Yeah, she's doing all his research. So the heroin buyer, has a brother who is a DA. They learn about Maya being deaf and that her dad died and that Jameson's show is paid for by Fisk.
They learn a lot in this chapter. It's just info dumping at this point. And like they come to the conclusion of this so fast. This whole chapter is just like, okay, well, we learned everything.
We gotta speed this up. It's taking
hurry it up. Chapter 27. Let's keep going.
Peter goes to see the DA and he's like, do you know this woman? He's like, oh my God, my sister's using drugs again. I guess I could take her daughter away from her.
Yeah, and then he's like, so are you going to cave if Fisk uses that against you? And the DA's like, no, I'm not going to
But he also gives them the information that Osborn is getting cozy with Fisk.
Yes.
So he's like, why would he get this information on
This is so pointless and unnecessary and super lame. Yeah. The DA situation and the sister thing is so stupid. Should not have been in here.
Chapter 28?
No. Peter left and called Yuri, telling her to look into Andy.
Yeah. He's like, let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Chapter 28, he goes to the brother of Andy, and who says, yeah, my brother's a liar. I'm not I'm like a straight and narrow person.
I'm the only straight and narrow person in this family.
Andy's a liar. And there was a guy with a mustache, a police officer with a mustache that I told all this to. And
they didn't log it, so, that was a dirty cop working for Fisk or whatever.
Now the DA is dead. We're getting a high death count. And there was webs all over his apartment room, wherever he was.
Body. He was beaten to death
Yeah.
by the fake Spider-Man. They think the fake Spider-Man is just a distraction from what Fisk is actually up to. That's their solution. Turns out the fake Spider-Man is just going rogue, and Fisk is like, I don't know how to deal with this man.
I hired the wrong guy.
I hired an insane guy and it's not working out, and I cannot believe this.
So Maya can't believe that Fisk would let Bingham kill the DA, and so she texts Jameson that Spider-Man is being protected by the police.
Because Maya's spying on Spider-Man and Yuri talking, like Bingham is. Apparently, they're wherever they go and talk and hide. Is so insecure.
He gave Fisk the photograph.
He did before.
Yeah, with the cop, and she's got a badge on them, so that's how they know, whatever.
Yeah, now S-Man is working with the cops. So chapter 29, Fisk is meeting with Blackridge, which is the military contractor that he hired. And they have footage of Maya being sketchy.
Yeah, I put sketchy too. Going into one of his safes.
Hiding Jameson's contracts too. So he's going to talk to Maya. And keep a closer eye on her. That's basically all that chapter was.
30?
Yep.
MJ and Peter fight about Fisk again.
Oh, MJ's also talking about the cop thing by now. That Spider-Man is working with the cops.
She also was like, I'm going to go to a fundraiser with Fisk to shadow him.
She's going to a Fisk charity event, which
is weird.
Peter cannot get over MJ wanting to help, and it's driving me and MJ insane, is what I wrote. So Peter goes back to the lab where he works.
Jameson also told about the cop connection on his talk show, radio show, whatever it is.
He has a breakthrough. Spider-Man does, not Jameson. Calls Yuri about Fisk and his financial crimes. And it turns out that we find out, Yuri brings this up, that the NYC Commissioner of Finance is stepping down. So Fisk's charity event is where they think that the mayor, Norman Osborn, is maybe going to announce that Fisk is going to take that job. So he would be too big to fail.
This also doesn't matter at all, but this is also in the chapter. We find out that Peyton, the accountant at the lab, used to work for Osborn, and they talk shit about him.
They do talk shit about him.
He's like, that man's sketch.
So that's the plan, is they're just going to try to make Fisk the NYC Commissioner of Finance because Fisk is blackmailing Norman Osborn. It's political drama that I don't need to know about, and it's so stupid.
And it also doesn't come to fruition, doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's just super weird. All right, so 31. Peter gets a 2-hour break to go home and not nap. Who's napping in 2 hours and eating because he just came off of a 12-hour
shift.
But he has to be back in 2 hours. I'm like, no, thank you.
So Yuri calls him and is like, Code Red, we have to meet at the location. So he suits up and he went to where she was. And it turns out that Tombstone is going to attack Fisk at a different charity event than the one we previously talked about.
Is it a different charity event?
Well, there's 2 charity events. There's
the gala.
There's the one MJ's going to, and then there's the one where they're going to announce that he is the Commissioner of Finance, which is the gala.
That's Osborn.
There's 2 charity events.
So there's the charity event and the gala. But they're both charity events, so who cares? Go to the charity event, and MJ's here too. This is the charity event.
We knew that she would be there.
And then he sees these men in trench coats, so he's like, well, that's sketchy.
I'm surprised he wasn't going to go to the charity event because MJ was going to be there as Spider-Man anyway.
Yeah,
Peter.
Go as Peter.
He'd just go, shadow her, go to her date. Go to her date or something. And then if stuff gets, shady, then you could turn into Spider-Man later.
He's on a 12-hour plus shift.
The only reason he's going to this charity event is because Yuri told him that Tombstone is going to attack Fisk. And it turns out that...
So fake cops shoot and then put their jackets back on, and then the real cops shoot. And, Peter didn't do anything. Spider-Man didn't do anything. So Tombstone's not attacking. Yuri got bad info from, the dirty cops in the place. They're setting her up.
So these, fake cops, a bunch of people in trench coats show up. And Spider-Man's like, that's sketchy. I'm going to call that in to Yuri. And Yuri's like, okay, well, don't do anything until I can get more people to cover this event. So, and eventually these guys take off their trench coats. They're wearing cop outfits. And they, start shooting at Spider-Man and blaming him. And people think that he attacked the cops first. And the actual cops there believe that he's attacking these fake cops.
But then the fake cops put back on the trench coat.
And then leave.
And they're like, who's... Yeah, it was...
And and MJ's like, I cannot believe you would attack
would
cops.
do
And he's like,
this.
I didn't
That
attack
embarrassed me.
cops.
So a bunch of things happen, and they're all both good and bad for Peter.
He gets a call from the lab, like, immediately after this went down. And the lab is like, you're late. I know you just did a 12-hour shift, and we told you to come back
in 2 hours.
In 2 hours, but it's been 2.5 hours.
And I had to run the experiment by myself.
I cannot believe this. You're fired. So, was his name Peyton?
Yeah.
Peyton fires him. And then,
Yuri's like,
Yuri says it was her fault.
Yeah, but we can't hang out anymore because it's too hot.
She's like, this is definitely a setup, but we're going on a break because, you're
people
toxic.
Are looking at me,
You're toxic, Spider-Man.
And then MJ is like, you don't trust me.
Yeah, he goes to MJ's apartment, and she's pissed. She's like, would you have done that if I wasn't there? And I was like, done what? Because even then, I had to double check and go back.
Like,
and I was like, did he attack the fake police officer?
He was going to, but I don't think he does.
I don't think he did, but it sounds like he might have, like, maybe webbed one of them.
He was, like, getting ready to do it, and then...
It doesn't seem like he actually did anything.
No. So he gets dumped. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is why you work alone, Peter. So that way you don't have to deal with all this. He
broke up with him, and so he Spider-Maned away after that.
Mm-hmm. Chapter 32 is a Bingham chapter. I'm like, what is the point of Bingham?
He got experimented on. I think this was
Spider-Man.
In the past. They were experimenting on him to cure a disease, but it failed, and the disease was whatever Harry had.
Yeah, they don't tell you this at all, but...
They want the reveal of him being experimented on by Oscorp.
Yeah.
To happen later on, but we're just going to tell you right now, it's Oscorp that's experimenting on him to cure Harry's disease by making Harry Spider-Man, I guess. And I don't know, because it seems like, were they trying to make a Spider-Man, or were they trying to do something else?
Can we talk about how dumb this is as well? So they're giving him this medicine to cure a disease that this man doesn't have.
Yeah.
So how do they know?
Killing all the
killed
other
everyone
people.
Else, or Bingham killed them, because Bingham bashed some guy's head in. But what is the point of giving someone medicine
when they don't have the disease? I thought that Oscorp is trying to make an artificial Spider-Man to heal Harry, because I don't know, Spider-Man has a big healing factor, and so I guess the artificial Spider-Man juice or whatever they're giving them.
There was nothing wrong with Bingham in the first place. I could get maybe if he was sick with something, like if he had like cancer or tuberculosis or whatever, besides a mental disorder. But there's nothing wrong with him. They're just experimenting on homeless people.
They're just experimenting on homeless people. And I don't know. It's shady.
Yeah.
So Bingham, now his narrative in his brain is that he thinks that the Spider-Man that he saw when he was homeless was him in the future. That's his new...
That's not what it was?
That's his new lore. That's what he believes.
He's just crazy pants.
He keeps changing it. He's like, oh, we switched places. Now he's me from the future. And so, I don't know. He's just crazy.
Chapter 33, some time has gone by, and MJ shows up to Peter's gross apartment.
Yeah, Peter's in a funk, obviously. He's still Spider-Manning. It's been weeks. MJ is like, I know you're depressed because you lost your job and I broke up with you.
Clean dishes. She's like, how's the lab going? He's like, what lab?
It says, she gave him some tough love, aka being super mean to him and calling him a quitter, and then leaving. And I was like, okay, it worked. Yeah, apparently all you need to fix Spider-Man is just like be a little mean to him. But she was too mean to him, I think.
Yeah, she was. They are toxic. So he decides to go meet up with Maya. He leaves her a note, and she meets him on the roof. He's like, don't bring that pointy stick thing. Mm-hmm. She tries to fight him, and he has his mask up, because
he goes and sees MJ right after this the next morning at the Daily Bugle. And so he's like, I'm going to investigate Maya. And she's like, awesome. Here's what I know.
Here's the file.
Here's where she is, and like find out that she's deaf. So now she can read his lips when they fight.
So they fight a lot. And then finally she's like, what? You're not fighting me. Like, what's going on? And he has a file, and he's like, here's your dad's file. I didn't kill him. And she's like, this file's fake. He's like, you're the surviving daughter. You can go get the file yourself.
Yeah.
But was he killed in New York? He had to be, because Spider-Man was there. When he was like 15, Spider-Man's like, I couldn't have killed him. And So
The
now
file
she's
basically says that whoever gave her that spear murdered her father.
yeah,
So
and she's like, oh shit.
at
It was
first
this.
she didn't really believe him until Spider-Man made her laugh, and then she read the file and then just believed him, and she
You're a
got bored
good guy, Peter.
so fast. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we have to wrap this up. Let's go.
So 34, they're going to work together to take the blackmail that he has on Osborn. He's got him on little flash drives.
They're going to expose Osborn so Fisk has no leverage.
Yeah, that was also weird.
I think that the stuff that Fisk is blackmailing Osborn with is the fact that he's experimenting on homeless people to cure his son's disease.
And so they're like, well, if we put that
because
out there,
he's
like, well,
working with
personal?
Bingham, and Bingham knows that. So obviously, and Bingham is both on, we find this out, Osborn and Fisk's payroll.
Yeah.
So he definitely told Fisk about that lab that's experimenting on homeless people, and I think that's the leverage that they're trying to. That's on that flash drive.
So Maya has access to.
They don't tell you.
Yeah, they don't tell you. Maya has access to one safe, so they go there. She uses her computer program to make sure that they can leave without people noticing. But it doesn't matter because the safe is empty, and Fisk is standing at the door.
Mm-hmm. So is Bingham, chapter 35.
Bingham is also there. Now he's like, I'm the blood spider because there's blood on my hands. Maya fights Fisk. Spider-Man fights Spider-Man.
Spider-Man fights Spider-Man. But, like, not really, because Spider-Man doesn't want to fight right now, so he just
trying
webs
to escape.
Fisk and Bingham, and then he takes Maya and he swings away.
Bingham,
because the flash drive isn't there.
Yeah, Bingham does say something. He's like, it's safe. It's just not in the safe.
Yeah.
And
apparently Fisk didn't know the safe was empty because after Spider-Man and Maya swing away,
he thinks
like
that Maya took it.
Yeah, he's like, oh my gosh. And then Bingham is like, you know that
Evil
the Fisk safe company was bought out by Oscorp, and Bingham is working for Osborn, so he took all of the thumb drives.
So your safe company has access to your safe? The people that you bought your safe from can just access your safe? I'm like, what is happening in this book?
Editors. So he took thumb drives and he's been giving them to Osborn.
No, he's destroyed them.
Well, he says he gave some to Osborn, but he kept one of them.
No, he's destroyed all of them except for one.
Okay, well, he has one,
so
the one that they need.
Trying to be super boss man to be like,
work
with me. For me. I'll do what you want, but work for me.
Fisk can't fight this guy. So he's like, I guess we can work together.
Because he, like, webbed his face.
Yeah.
That was weird. There's a new order. Bingham on top. Fisk is working for him. Are we on 36?
36.
We're almost done, guys. Gala and everyone is there.
All of Spider-Man's friends and Jameson.
Like, everyone.
I like that he included Jameson in his friends list. Very nice of him. Are down at the gala. Maya's pretty sure Bingham has the flash drive that they're looking for. So they are like, okay, just try to coax Bingham out. And by giving a speech.
He gives this weird
Spider-Man gives a weird speech. And Jameson is like, shoot him.
It worked. The imposter's like,
he's like, if the fake Spider-Man is here, please stand up.
Please stand up.
Please stand up. And he's like, how dare you come?
I'm the real Spider-Man. You are the imposter. They fight. It's dumb.
There's a weird, like, side conversation that Fisk has with Osborn, where he's like, oh, Osborn, I'm so mad at you. And Osborn is like, you're not going to be New York's king of finance anymore. Two rich guys just
Echo ends up stealing the thumb drive because Spider-Man
is losing. He's getting, like, beaten.
Yeah, he is. But he's doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
And
he bounces back and then he, like, almost kills Bingham. And Mary Jane looks at him horrified, and that's how we know he's gone too far.
Yeah.
I guess he can't.
So Echo has the drive because it was in a secret pocket in Bingham's suit. But then he's like, this guy's an idiot because Spider-Man, the real Spider-Man, Peter Parker, was like, I exchanged it. I have the real one, and he's like, what? This one right here? And then Echo steals it.
Like Spider-Man is like, let's have a fair fight for your thumb drive, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then Echo yoinked it.
And then Echo and Fisk end up fighting.
And she ends up crushing the thumb drive, so we never find out what Osborn was being blackmailed with, but we kind of know. I think we know.
Bingham keeps telling Spider-Man that everything's his fault, including he's like, it's your fault my mom ignored me. And then
Spider-Man pulls the yo mama joke.
He's like, yeah, because she came to my house to make me cookies.
Damn, Peter.
And
he's like, I had to.
Really mad.
He just set him up for the yo mama joke, dude. He couldn't not do that. So apparently Fisk gets held down by the police.
Yeah.
And then Echo leaves.
And then
Fisk is so lame in this book. All he does is like he crushes one employee and beats stuff up, but he's getting like beaten up by Blood Spider, by the cops.
Yeah.
Like,
he gets dissed by Osborn.
Oh my god.
He ends up like webbing Bingham enough, and then he does like hit him too many times. And
he wanted to beat him to a pulp, but
because
Bingham has mental problems, he webbed him up instead, is basically what I got from that.
And then he turns it over to the cops. And then he leaves because he's like, I'm not. Because Jameson again is like, arrest him. It's like, dude. All right, 37.
Blood Spider's being sent to Ravencroft.
Yeah, he's going for a psych eval. Fisk was arrested.
But he got out.
He will, eventually the charges will be dropped. Maya has this is the
cousins in Montana.
Yeah, wind down chapter.
She's gonna go see them.
And before she leaves, she gives Peter a large file.
Peter really wants somebody else to take over superhero duties.
Because he can't even have a freaking vacation or go on a date or
go
to work.
Maya's like, I'm going back to Montana. He's like, can't you just stay here and like help me, please? Oh my god. And she's like, nope, bye. But before she leaves,
I gotta find out about my family.
She gives him a file, and then he meets up with Yuri and gives her the file that Maya gave him, and it's just more info on Fisk.
Yeah, I'm like, so Fisk wasn't arrested? I had to go back and reread this chapter because I was like, was he arrested? No, but he's a free man, so.
And then is the epilogue.
So months later.
Which is just the opening of the game.
It is the start of the game. You get the Spider-Man hears the police radio. They come in.
They're going to Fisk Tower.
We find out Yuri has been promoted to captain. Fisk wasn't charged. Jameson is now...
except for punching his foster daughter, because that was filmed. Yeah. So now he's a little more tainted, but not by that much.
No. Jameson now has a podcast. Mm-hmm. And because he cut ties with Fisk. So he... Yeah. Doesn't have financial backing.
So the police are trying to take down Fisk at his tower, and Yuri sends Spider-Man to Times Square to fight guys.
We also find out that Peyton didn't have the authority to fire Peter, but got fired instead, and so Peter now has his job back.
Ta-da!
And Peter swings towards Times Square, and that is the end of the book.
Hostile takeover.
All right, next month we are diving back into the world of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yep.
We are.
You found a bunch of those at the thrift store,
so we're going into Fazbear Frights #1, Into the Pit.
Yeah. This is like the second series they made, I think. Maybe the third. I don't know. That's too many. There's too many. Anyway, see you next month.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.